Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Pregame Show. It's the biggest game of the season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the biggest game for the Carolina Panthers as well. 2 7-7 teams getting ready to get locked and loaded and play the huge game of who's going to win the NFC South, because apparently nobody wants to win it. So we're going to break it down all this morning, talk about the biggest storylines as well. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joining with me is Scott Reynolds of PewterReport.com. Scott, who's going to win the NFC South?
I don't know, Matt. I think you and I were in alignment that the Bucs were going to beat the Saints a couple weeks ago, right? And we were wrong. I think every Pewter reporter picked the Bucs to beat the Saints. We were wrong.
Yeah.
Last week, I kind of knew the Falcons were going to beat the Buccaneers. I picked them to win, put money on the Falcons, unfortunately. I don't know who's going to win this one. I really don't. Here's what I do know. This game is not on prime time. That helps the Bucs. This game is not a game where the creamsicle jerseys are being worn. That helps the Bucs.
And they're not home either. They play better on the road. Like they suck at home, if we're going to be realistic.
That's right. They've lost to the Eagles at home. They've lost to the Saints at home. They've lost to the Falcons at home. The Buccaneers have gone 1-5 since the bye week. The Panthers are on this incredibly mercurial stretch of win-loss, 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 win-loss. I want to say for the last 7 weeks, they have not won consecutive games, nor have they lost consecutive games. But if that win-loss streak continues to hold out, that means the Panthers win today, because the last time they won was at home 2 weeks ago against the LA Rams in impressive fashion, 31-28. Then right on cue, they lost last week to the New Orleans Saints in the Big Easy. So now they return home, and the streak says they're going to beat the Bucs today. And given how Tampa Bay, Matt, has lost to 2 lesser NFC South teams at home in back-to-back weeks, what are their chances of beating a better NFC South team on the road? I don't know. That's why we're going to watch the game at 1 and figure this all out.
Yeah, there's no good reason to feel confident in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers based on what they've done for the last month,
or haven't done.
Coming out of the bye and stuff like that. But this is what this team does. Maybe I got a little too premature with, hey, this is a Todd Bowles Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, you stub your toe, you lose several games. Like, maybe this is the week where, okay, now you're going to win because it's a must win and it's a do or die situation.
Yeah.
And now you're going to win the next 3 games in a row. Like, maybe I was a little bit early in thinking about how this is going to situate itself. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a shootout, or at least it has to be a shootout. And maybe you feel good about it because now you have Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan. And it's more than just having them. It's proving that they can be a huge asset to this team. We know what Mike Evans did. I'm honestly even more impressed with what Jalen McMillan did with 2 catches, taking a hit, taking a bump, and all that stuff. So, to me, it's going to be the wide receivers that get the job done and give Tampa Bay a win if they want to win and if they feel like winning.
Yeah, for sure. And that was great news, seeing Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan back, and both played really, really well. And I think as a result, Matt, we saw really good play from Chris Godwin, even though he wasn't targeted much and didn't have a lot of production. He had a very key touchdown, and the octopus, he had the 2-point conversion. And then you look at Emeka Egbuka, the pressure was off of him. He wasn't the number 1 or maybe even the number 2 receiver on Thursday night. And yet I thought he played a really good game. I wish Baker Mayfield's pass to him on that final drive, on Tampa Bay's offensive final drive, had connected, right? Because then that seals the win for the Buccaneers. And instead, that contributed to giving the ball back to the Falcons. And it was, unfortunately, the death knell right there, because Kirk Cousins did it to this team again. But yeah, we shall see. And it wasn't just having Mike and Jalen back last week that gave the Buccaneers offense some hope. It's the fact that really outside of like Zion McCollum being being placed on injured reserve. This team is as healthy as it's been all season long. As a matter of fact, let's get to our injury report. We have no news for you this morning in terms of who's going to play or not. And that's good news for the first time, Matt. Everyone is healthy and active for Sunday's game at Carolina. The Bucs injury report, which is nothing to report, is brought to you by Jorgensen Law PA, the official attorney group of Pewter Report. Visit them on the web at jorgensenlawoffice.com or give them a call at 727-347-7733. That means Levante David is healthy enough to play, and Servassier Dennis is back in the lineup. Tyke Smith is back in the lineup. I think they really, really missed him last week.
Yep.
He's just been the consistent playmaker on defense this year for the Buccaneers and an impact player. And maybe he's the difference maker in that Thursday night game on 3rd and 28 or 4th and 14. But nevertheless, he didn't play and the Buccaneers lost. But really good news when it comes to having everybody play. When I say everybody, I even mean Jason Pierre-Paul is elevated from the
JPP.
Practice squad and will be back today, Matt.
That's the most thrilling news of it all. It's funny because, like, earlier in the day, yesterday, I'm out watching the Miami Texas A&M game. And congrats to the U. And some people I'm with are like, Simon McCollum. I'm like, what's his deal? And I'm like, you're not going to have to deal with him because he's on injured reserve. But we spoke this into existence.
Yeah,
I'm excited, but we are all excited to watch JPP go out and make something of the Bucs pass rush because it has been so few and far between. So super pumped to watch JPP today. I hope the Bucs do it right where, it's like maybe 5 snaps a quarter, whatever it's going to be. Don't drop him back in coverage, but never trust that with Todd Bowles.
Right.
You're getting nothing from the edge rushers. Why not throw JPP out there and maybe he makes a big play?
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? He doesn't get a sack. Okay, well,
exactly.
You could say the same thing for Hassan Reddick
and
Chris Braswell. Right, exactly. So, so I'm excited to see, just out of curiosity's sake, like what's going to happen today with number 91. He's wearing number 91. He respectfully declined to ask Logan Hall for the jersey of number 90, which is what he wore during his years in Tampa Bay and also with the New York Giants. So. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he can do, if anything. And boy, if he does provide some pass rush in this game, and let's not forget, this team doesn't have Kalijah Cansey, right? And he was their best pure pass rusher. He's been out since week 2. What did we see from Jason Pierre-Paul at times in Tampa Bay, especially in 2021 when he had that shoulder injury and kind of came back from that? They had just drafted Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and at times they would have Joe Tryon-Shoyinka rush inside as a nickel rusher, but then also they'd have Jason Pierre-Paul do that as well. So you could see a lineup that has Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby on the outside and Jason Pierre-Paul and Vita Vea on the inside, right? I mean, that I wouldn't be opposed to that, or having Diaby inside with Vita Vea on a couple of snaps and have Jason Pierre-Paul on the outside. I mean, that's a Todd Bowles staple, kind of giving you a different picture up front and also in the secondary with coverage, looks. So I don't care where he lines up, Matt. I just want to see number 91 out there. I'm curious to see what Jason Pierre-Paul can do.
Yeah, when he was with the Giants, they used to do, I think they called it NASCAR was what they did. And I can't remember if he was on the edge or like they moved him to the inside, but they used their 4 best pass rushers and had them get after the quarterback. So
including Justin Tuck, Matthias Kiwanuka. That was a really good front.
There's nothing that, as expansive as Todd Bowles' defense is, there's nothing that Todd Bowles, is going to call today, and JPP is not going to know. So, let him rush inside. Let him do whatever. Just get to the quarterback.
Yeah. As A.M. Stewart says, I love JPP for Father Time. Most likely has the upper hand. On the other hand, how worse could the Bucs pass rush be?
Exactly.
I put the big dude from Florida that was cut earlier, Desmond Watson. He's no longer part of the picture. And then another comment here from Kata Villain. I think JPP will dominate because of his experience. It's going to be good to have him out there. He's known for being able to win one-on-one, hopefully some knowledge can be given to Diaby. Yeah, I mean, I like you, Matt. What you said, 5 snaps
They can't
per
go
quarter,
wrong.
20 reps. Yeah, it's kind of a flip-sided coin here, right? It's on one hand, he's got incredibly fresh legs, right? He hasn't played a down in football since 2023. The other hand, he's not probably in football condition, right? I mean, just a couple practices back is not going to get you prepared for playing down in and down out. But yeah, play him 5 snaps a quarter, 20 snaps a game, and see what happens.
There you go.
Especially on third downs, I would be all in favor of that. Matt, are you all in favor of the line today? And it's moved a little bit. It was Tampa Bay -3. Now it's Tampa Bay -2, courtesy of
No, I
Splash
think
Sports.
this is a ridiculous line. I mean, Las Vegas knows what they're doing, but to me, this is ridiculous. The Bucs have lost what, 5 of 6, and they're going on the road, and they're a 2.5-point favorite. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. It's one of the most mind-numbing odds that I've seen all season long. They've lost 5 of 6. They've lost to some of the worst teams in football, and you're going to make them a favorite on the road?
And they're tied with Carolina at 7-7. It's not like they're coming in with a winning record, and the Panthers have a losing record.
Carolina beat the Rams. What did the Bucs do to the Rams?
Yeah,
everyone knows. They got embarrassed on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, well,
and the Panthers beat the Rams, and you're going to make the Bucs a 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, it's utterly ridiculous.
Speaking of favorites, Splash Sports is one of our favorite advertising partners, man.
Yes, I love Splash Sports. You can get the best game props for quick picks over on Splash Sports. I hope you tailed my college football picks. Did pretty well there. You can download the Splash Sports app with the QR code on the screen. It's the home of Survivor, Pick'em, and Quick Picks. Every single week, they do different tournaments. So, yes, the football season is dwindling down a little bit, but they have tournaments for basketball, baseball. I know baseball's not going on right now, but all the different live sports, college football as well. So love Splash Sports. Literally, if you just feel like picking a game, picking an entire slate of games as well, and Splash Sports is got you covered. So shout out to our friends over at Splash Sports. So much fun, and it's the home of Survivor, Quick Picks, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going through our Pewter pregame and predictions here. And once again, we kind of have a mixed bag, kind of like what we saw against the Falcons. And unfortunately, and I mean, I don't like to be right when I pick against the Buccaneers, because I know my audience, that's you Pewter people, and you want to see this team win. And so when I pick against the Buccaneers, I kind of hope I lose, just for you folks' sake. But once again, Matt, we did have kind of a split decision here in the Pewter picks and the Pewter preview and predictions. I picked the Buccaneers to lose this game 31-30. I think the Buccaneers offense has a chance to drop 30 on the Panthers. I do, but I don't trust this Bucs defense, and therefore I picked the Panthers to win by 1 point in this game. My record this year, and the funny thing is, my wife Ashley asked me, she's like, did you pick for or against the Bucs this week? And I said, I picked against them, again, just for the reasons I've shared on this program and our Wednesday Pewter preview show on pewterreport.com and Pewter Report TV. And she's like, well, what does the team think about that? I'm like, I don't care what the team thinks about it. I'm paid to give a objective analysis. And honestly,
I don't go in right and be like, oh, well, Scott picked this, so
right.
Well, now I have to pick that. No,
right.
like
I'm
we all
10
have our
and
own
4.
minds.
I've got a better record than the Buccaneers. And she's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I'm 10 and 4. The Bucs are 7-7. So maybe I know this team a little bit better than they do. Matt, you also picked a very high-scoring game, and who did you pick to win?
Yeah, I picked the Panthers to beat the Bucs 35-32, and I don't feel good about picking against the Bucs, but I mean, we got to be realistic about what's going on. And I as much as I hate what's going on with the Bucs defense, that's how excited I am about Tampa Bay's offense with another week of Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, Chris Godwin Jr., and Emeka Egbuka as well. So I think it's going to be a shootout type of game. That's why I took the over as well. But I can't sit here and be like, oh, well, this is the week where the Bucs defense figures it out.
Right.
Why? They haven't figured it out since the bye, and that's 6 games now. So I don't like picking against them, but I think being realistic is also valued on this show. So
I totally agree. I mean, and that's before you hate Pewter Report, people, I'll let you know right now. Josh Capo picks the Buccaneers to win by a big margin, 34-21. So he thinks the Buccaneers are the better team and they're going to win today. Adam Slavon also picked the Buccaneers to win a close game, 30-24. And Bailey Adams joined Matt Matera and myself in picking the Panthers to beat the Bucs 27-21. So another split decision for the Pewter Report crew. We'll see who's right and who's wrong around 4 o'clock today when this is over. But one thing we do know, Matt, is with Zion McCollum on injured reserve, not available today for the rest of the regular season, we know that Jamel Dean is their top corner. And we know that, Matt, Todd Bowles is not going to rotate Benjamin Morrison in for Jamel Dean unless he gets injured. We're going to see a full game of don't make a scene, it's just Jamel Dean. I think that's a good thing, but the flip side is we're going to see a whole game of Benjamin Morrison, probably starting opposite Jamel Dean, and I don't know what to expect because we really haven't seen this guy. This is a great audition for him over these next 3 weeks to prove that he can be a starter capable of replacing Jamel Dean, who's going to depart in free agency in the offseason and really live up to that second-round draft billing.
It actually fits perfectly with the super chat we got from Meets McGee, and thank you for the $5 super chat, who says, I'm very interested in seeing if BMO can play like he did versus A.J. Brown earlier in the season when the Bucs went up against the Eagles, where he showed a lot of promise versus the Eagles. Bowles believes so. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the biggest storylines, in my opinion, of what's going to go on with Tampa Bay's defense. It's been a down year for Zion McCollum, but that doesn't matter right now because he's not playing in the game. This morning, I feel better this morning than I did probably yesterday or Friday about Benjamin Morrison. I mean, it's kind of with the edge rusher and JPP. It's like, what do you got to lose? Like, what else are you going to throw out there?
That's right.
Outside of like Kendall Vildor, maybe Jacob Parrish. I mean, we had Rondé Barber. It feels like forever ago, but it was earlier this week. He said he would have went with Jacob Parrish, but also Jacob Parrish from 2 months ago, not Jacob Parrish current day. So I don't know. I'm excited for Benjamin Morrison to hopefully swim. I think it's a very sink or swim type of situation. But again, like the Bucs have no other options. No one else is coming in to save Tampa Bay at corner. So let's see what Benjamin Morrison, who's played in a lot of big games in his college career, let's see what he's got for a full 60 minutes, hopefully.
No Zion McCollum today for Todd Bowles. So, Matt, we've talked about this before a little bit. I think we share the same mindset. It would be great to see Jamel Dean just follow Teteroa McMillan around, right? And just say, if you're going to beat us through the air today, it's going to be with Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette. It's going to be with Tommy Tremble, right? That's how you're going to beat us. But we're not going to just let you throw 12 targets at Teteroa McMillan and then have him catch 8 passes for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? And I'm not saying that Benjamin Morrison's automatically going to give that up, but I just like my chances with an experienced Jamel Dean who's got a Super Bowl ring on his finger, who has played his best football this year than he has in recent memory. I'd rather him play cat coverage, meaning wherever this cat goes, you follow him. And we've seen Todd Bowles do that not nearly enough, in my opinion, but you go back to that Jamar Chase Bengals game where he did that with Carlton Davis and just said,
that's right.
Wherever he goes, Carlton, you're on Jamar Chase. And I think he played pretty well that game. He was up to the challenge. What I'm afraid of in this game is David Canales does what most offensive coordinators and play callers do, is when they see Benjamin Morrison in the game, they target him. And even though Teteroa McMillan typically lines up to the left a little bit, which would be against the right cornerback, Jamel Dean, he will see some time on the right side as well. And that's, no receiver static and only plays one side of the field. But if I'm Dave Canales, I'm trying to get that Teteroa McMillan versus Benjamin Morrison matchup as often as I can. And it's not just rookie on rookie. Teteroa McMillan has been a day one starter. He has played the entire season. Benjamin Morrison, he's still a rookie. And he just hasn't played enough snaps and reps. And this is, I think, going to be his first start today, if he does start. And, advantage Tedero McMillan there. We're kind of giving away the preview a little bit here, but it's worth talking about right now.
It is, and I think this show appreciates transparency. I have an opportunity to win over $600 if Emeka Buka wins Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Right.
And to me, this matchup today is whoever plays better is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, there's a chance Travion Henderson sneaks into that conversation when he plays on Sunday Night Football. But, I'm I'm very worried about Ted McMillan taking over for Offensive Rookie of the Year by just getting pass after pass and throw after throw to him and taking advantage of the same way that Matt Collins did for the Patriots. And then, Kyle Pitts certainly did for the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. So, I mean, there's no question. It's the biggest matchup of Benjamin Morrison's life, not just of his career, of his life. Forget everything that he did at Notre Dame, which wasn't that impressive because they don't play anybody. This is the biggest game of his life.
Matt, you are so consistent with the Notre Dame hate. I love it. You can always count on.
I'll never give up on that.
You can always count on a New York accent from Matt. Like, that's not going away. Coffee, tournament, love it. And then the Notre Dame hate, right? That's plus awesome Buccaneer insight and analysis. Those are some staples for Matty Diamonds for sure, as well as some picks. And you have your Pewter picks and props in for this week, Matt. Just share with us. I'm going to put your link to that video in the chat. Bucs fans, make sure that you check that out on Pewter Report TV or YouTube channel, as you're doing with this show and others. But talk about like one or two prop picks that you really like in this game.
Yeah, I'll give one for each side because I think the easiest automatic, like if you want money, like maybe you're struggling a little bit and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get lunch for my family. Just bet on Bryce Young to get over on the passing yards. I mean, any opposing
is that what it was?
It's 206. Yeah. Any opposing quarterback facing the Bucs defense, just automatically bet the over. I don't know what's going to be against Quinn Ewers next week for Miami, and obviously they have to play this weekend. Take the over as well. So Bryce Young over 206 passing yards. To me, it's one of the silliest lines that we'll see all season long. And then for the Bucs, Jalen McMillan, his over on receiving yards is only 18, I think 18 and a half. To me, that's just like one completion. You're essentially saying, will Jalen McMillan record a catch in this game? To me, this is the lowest you're going to get it. So I hope everyone jumps all over it because this is the lowest you're going to get it all season long. He's going to get more snaps this game as well because remember, he was on a pitch count, as was Mike Evans, and we know what Mike Evans did. But Jalen McMillan, I think, I'm not predicting like a huge game or anything like that, but 18 and a half yards, he just needs
incredibly low.
One big play or two or three catches.
2 catches.
I feel very confident in him. Yeah, if he does
10
exactly
yards a
what
pop,
he did on Thursday,
if
he does exactly what he did on Thursday, bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. So
now to that prop bet you're talking about with Bryce Young, I can see why Vegas kind of does that because he has only thrown for over 206 yards 1, 2, 3 times this year. I mean, he's bumped 189, 190, 198 yards. So, like, I can understand that. But he did throw for 448 yards against the Falcons, and that was back in November 16th. And then in the second game of the season against Arizona, he lit up the Cardinals for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the thing is, you're playing a Todd Bowles defense, a defense that does not care about passing yards allowed. We've seen Jacoby Brissett light this team up. We've seen Kirk Cousins light this team up for passing yards. So I'm with you on that. It seems like that's a pretty safe bet. And I love the Jalen McMillan bet too. I've got both of those with
it's and I have several Bucs picks, so check out Pewter Picks and Props. But that without a doubt is my favorite Bucs prop bet.
Yep. We have a couple new Pewter Report TV channel members that we're excited about. Mikey NH7HW, greatly appreciate you joining the Pewter Reports TV YouTube channel masses, and also Kahunaville, greatly appreciate you becoming a member as well. Thank you.
Like the name as well.
Yeah. Monster Jam Fever has been a member for 3 months. Quick question: if we lose the division, Does it make it more realistic that Todd is gone? Or if we win the division at 9-8, I don't know. I'm lost on what the Bucs can do. The NFC getting better, and we are falling behind. That's an interesting facet here, Matt. Let's just take this in two different areas here, right? If they lose the division, and I believe they can still lose the division at 9-8. If the Buccaneers lose this game, but then win the next two, no, actually, that's not the case. So if they lose the division, they would have to finish with 8 or 7 wins, because I believe the math is still on their side. Even if they lose today, if they win the next 2 games,
correct,
right, they're still going to win. So that would get them to 9 wins. So you're looking at a team with a losing record, Matt. You're looking at a 7-10 or an 8-9 Buccaneers. And if that's the case, is he gone?
I mean, if they go 7-10, I think there's no question that, unfortunately, Todd Bowles will no longer be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And stop you right there. I think the reason why is because since the bye week, they'll have won 1 game. That was to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah,
is really what it comes down to. If they go 8-9, maybe Todd Bowles puts on the speech of his life and says injuries and convinces the Glazers he has another eureka moment coming, or who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, you know what I'll do? I'll fire Thomas McGahee.
Yeah,
there's my eureka moment.
Hey, the Rams fired their special teams coordinator in season. Can't the Bucs do that?
I was reading that yesterday. I was like, wow, the Rams, who have one of the best teams in the league. I know they lost on Thursday, and kind of similarly to the Bucs.
Yeah.
They're going to fire their special teams coach, but Bucs aren't. Damn. And, you don't want anyone to lose their job and stuff like that, but sheesh. I mean, we've seen what's gone on with the Bucs special teams this year, and the Rams, not that I'm watching every single game, but it hasn't seemed as out of control as it was for the Rams as it is for the Bucs. But I mean, 8-9 probably shouldn't. It shouldn't, save Todd Bowles. So
I agree. Yeah, and if they win the division, that means another playoff game. I think if they win the division at 9-8 and they lose their first round playoff game, then you can look at this season and say truly no progress, right? Truly no progress. Correct. Because you're 1 win less in the regular season, or 1 loss more, however you want to look at it. And then again, 3 years out of 4, you don't win your home playoff game in the first round. And I think that's tough.
Got a super chat from Malcolm Harvey. Thank you for the $1.99. Says, take Mike's over after the Falcons debacle, and an Aggies lost. Yeah. Well, depending on who you bet on, crazy game with Texas A&M and Miami.
That was crazy.
Congrats to the U. Moving on to the next round of the college football playoffs. But yeah, Mike's not going to be in a good mood. So maybe that means a lot of receiving yards for him. Maybe he breaks the record if he gets 300 receiving yards in this game. So we'll see. And thank you to Florida Dream House for the $5 super chat, who says, today's game will answer all the questions we have about the team's character and future of the coaching staff. A loss will reset everything for 2026.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that whoever wins this game will win the division. Now, if the Buccaneers win the next 2 games after losing this one, right? I mean, so I guess today's game doesn't mean everything, but it certainly makes that Week 18 game really come down to the wire. Like, it's do or die for either team at that point in time. So if they lose this game, I think they're behind the 8 ball. And really, the thing is if you go to Miami and you've lost 3 straight, and you literally have just cratered your lead in the NFC South, and now you're behind, and you go to Miami, and I don't know how Miami's going to play today with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. They're playing the Bengals. I would expect a big game from Devon Achane. I just don't know. I don't know if this team's going to go to Miami with any more confidence that they're going to win than if they go to Carolina today and lose, like, where's the confidence going to come from? You've lost at home to the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers in 3 consecutive weeks. Where are you going to find your confidence to go on the road and beat the Miami Dolphins, who are not a world beater, but neither are you?
No.
You'd be below 500 at that point in time. Same with the Bengals. I mean, or the Dolphins. I don't know.
Yeah, and at that point, I don't know who's going to be the one to inspire everybody. Like, yeah, we all talk about JPP.
Right.
But it's like JPP has been there for 2 weeks. It's like all of a sudden everyone's going to be like, you know what? JPP is the voice that we've been missing this entire time. I don't necessarily think so. Now, if he makes a big play in today's game, that will go a long way in terms of his message to the locker room. But Max Powers, thanks for this $4.99 super chat. And speaking of JPP, says, fear of spiders is called arachnophobia. Fear of tight spaces is called claustrophobia. Famously,
I love that.
Famously, Mark Hook and Mark Hook's girlfriend, Daisy, want to call the elevator the Mark Hook Memorial elevator because he was claustrophobic. RP Mark. And fear of JPP is just plain logic.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
JPP has that element of what many edge rushers have, and that's striking fear into opponents just by a look. And it's
just
a
by
look
lining up against somebody.
It's a look of craziness, but I mean that in a complimentary way of Jason Pierre-Paul. I hope he puts fear in Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And South Boy, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, Rachaad White's prop is 10.5 yards. Is that a lock on the over? Good Honestly, question. I might go, as soon as the show is done, I might go and bet that because it was 18.5 last week. And I get the feeling that Josh Grizzard might lean a little bit more into, hey, Bucky's not getting it done. Let's see what Rachaad White and Sean Tucker can do. So, yeah, I mean, if Rachaad White got 1 rushing attempt last game, if he gets 2 or 3, it seems like a lock. It's a little bit of a gamble. Well, that's what gambling is and betting is. But, I think it's worth the risk is more what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm going to. Actually, I'm not waiting until the end of the show. That seems pretty reasonable. I'm going to go with that right now.
There you go. A live bet on
live prop bet.
Rachaad White. So thank you for the super chat. Hopefully your $1.99 turns into more money.
I'm gonna go everyone. 15 large on this one, Matt. I'm gonna go 15 large right now.
I respect it.
Yeah.
And then Rich Balchin, thank you for being a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 15 months now. Holy smokes, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Says not had the chance to comment this week, but on Wednesday, Todd said teams don't get blown out. What happened against the Rams and Lions?
Yeah.
Mindset is all wrong, including Grizzard saying you wouldn't know we'd been losing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Lions game and the Rams game. Those were blowouts. I mean, the scoreboard pretty much is validation of that. You didn't score enough points by a lot, and you gave up too many points by a lot. I think if you lose by double digits, I mean, like a 10-point game, I don't know if you consider that a blowout, but like 17 points or more, I think is a blowout, right? And
I agree. Yeah, 17 or more is a lopsided game.
Yeah, and so what was it, 24-9 in Detroit? And so by my definition, that's not a blowout, but it felt like a blowout. It felt like the Lions had their way and they had a day against the Buccaneers. And I think when you look at a game, and again, by double digits, right? If the team wins by double digits, you can look at a lot of other factors and just say, well, they were close, but they just didn't get there, or they just weren't even in that game. And the Buccaneers just were not in that game on Monday night against the Lions. Like at no point in time did I feel like, oh, the Bucs are going to win this, and that was the case. And certainly that was the case with the Rams. Like quickly, like 14-0 down, and I hope Kate Otten gets some gloves for Christmas. It's warm down here in Florida, so I'm not saying like fleece lined gloves or like Gore-Tex lined or thin insulate lined, just some gloves. I just hope he gets some gloves for Christmas.
If it's not a hippopotamus for Christmas, it might as well be gloves. Thank you to B. Shucker for this $10 super chat, who
Thank
says,
you.
"Happy Football Sunday. Thanks as always, guys." Thank you, B. Shucker. Appreciate the constant kindness with super chats and
Yes,
just
very
saying
much
thank you.
appreciate
So
that.
we appreciate you very,
Yeah.
very much. So thank you.
A couple comments we want to get to here just before we go into our key matchups. Anthony Nelson with a game-changing turnover. Well, that's what happened the last time they played up there
Yep.
in Carolina. This play right here, Chuba Hubbard there. The Panthers are right there. They're in field goal range in overtime. And Chuba Hubbard gets the ball stripped away from Anthony Nelson, who will make a couple of these plays every year. I think maybe he made all of those plays for the year in New Orleans.
Against the Saints, yeah.
Right, against the Saints. But he did make that play, and that fumble was recovered by Yaya Diaby right there. He picked it up, and then they drove down the field, and Chase McLaughlin kicked the game winner. And that really kind of saved the Buccaneers season. An overtime win in Carolina.
No doubt.
And then they just handled business in the return game later that year. They blew out the Panthers. So we shall see how Anthony Nelson shows up today and all of that. Here's another good super chat.
Yeah, one more super chat. Thank you to Son the Child of $2. Thank you very much. Says, why won't they give Devin Culp any real playing time? This honestly frustrates me. And shout out to our guy Sly, I believe, asked Josh Brazar during the week about Devin Culp and the possibility if he could play more. And he didn't really commit to it with Cade Otton coming back. And I don't quite know why. I mean, it took up until Thursday night's game for any tight end to score a touchdown.
He's
for
the lone
Tampa
one.
Bay Buccaneers. I get it. Devin Culp he's not your physical traditional tight end. He's not going to get into the nitty gritty and be the guy that sets the lead block to spring Bucky Irving or Rashad White or Sean Tucker, whatever the case may be. But damn, I mean, he could be a threat in the receiving game. And, maybe he's not going to be the guy that gets 5 catches for 100 yards or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. It brings a little something different to this offense. Now, if the Bucs lose today, I don't think it's going to be, well, Devin Culp wasn't a factor in the
didn't show up
game,
exactly.
and that's why they lost. But I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit more of what they have in Devin Culp. And
he's just not a good blocker. I think that's what holds him back. And really, this is a wide receiver driven offense this year. I think we saw Liam Cohen and even Dave Canales rely more on the tight end position when they were play callers. And this is just kind of like a wide receiver driven offense right now. And I think even Grizzard alluded to that on Thursday, saying, now the J-Mac's back and Mike's back, it's just hard to get Devin Culp the ball. But honestly, I'd rather see him get targets than Cade Otton, if I'm being honest. I'm just not impressed with what Cade Otton has done
for sure
in the receiving game this year.
And he has a huge brace on his knee. Like, I hope he's clearly not 100%. And I hope he's able to play through it. But just seeing him at practice, gigantic knee brace.
Bulky knee brace,
very bulky. Shout out to David Dosher. Thank you for this $4.99 super chat. Who says, who was y'all's biggest draft pick letdown of all time? O.J. Howard and Mark Barron, I'm assuming is what David says for himself. I mean, Jameis Winston, I always had this theory if Jameis played for the Rex Ryan Jets, like with their defense, they would have won 10 consecutive Super Bowls because Jameis is going to throw the picks and everything like that. If Jameis played with the 2002 Bucs defense, maybe even the 2020 Bucs defense, they probably win several Super Bowls because Jameis will put up the points, he'll put up the interceptions, but the defense will, cover the bad part of it. But I don't know.
I mean, if it's between these two players, I mean, I'd probably say Mark Barron. He just, in the year where the NFL really kind of flipped the rules around and punished defensive backs for hitting wide receivers.
Correct.
Right? That was the year that they drafted Mark Barron, who was a John Lynch type of enforcer, strong safety across the middle. And then they signed, what was his name? Deshaun. They got him from the 49ers. He was like a big time.
Goldson.
Yeah,
Goldson
Deshaun
sounds like the
Goldson.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They had two strong safety enforcer types for Greg Schiano's defense that were like John Lynch type clones, and that was the year where you had to let the receiver catch the ball and then you could hit him.
Right.
That's just what. And both
Not
of those players
ideal.
got fined and I think suspended and all that stuff. So the Buccaneers acquired two John Lynch type safeties the year the league said, "Oh, we're not allowing players like John Lynch to rule the middle anymore on defense." To me, it's Vernon Hargreaves. Like if we're going to stay kind of current with Jason
Good
Light,
answer.
and I'm sticking with first round picks only. Well, you can sit there and say Roberto
For
Aguirre,
sure.
Kyle
Yeah.
Trask, all you want, but
yeah.
to me, Vernon Hargreaves. I didn't like him in Florida. I know there were some Bucs scouts that absolutely detested the Bucs drafting Vernon Hargreaves. I think it was just like we need a cornerback, and he was like, supposedly one of the top available. I didn't see anything on tape I liked about him. I didn't like his demeanor when he was here. Just a failed pick. I mean, and I credit Bruce Arians for during the season cutting him in 2019. They
Calling
picked
him
up
out,
his
too.
fifth-year option for the next season, right? And Bruce Arians just said, we're going to cut this bastard. Like they cut him like right after the Cardinals game when he was loafing, not even towards the end of the season. Like it was towards the end of the season, but not at the end of the season. They just cut him. And I love that. I love that move. That was great. That was like a tone setter type thing. Like, I don't care. You can be a first round pick, high price free agent, whatever.
Everyone
You
can
get the
get
job done. Yeah, for sure. So for me, it's Vernon Hargreaves in that what is a terrible, terrible 2016 draft class. Nothing but misses that year.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm trying to go down the rabbit hole of bad Jason Light draft picks because Jason Light's had a lot of great draft picks as well. And
Yeah.
I was actually watching over the weekend the event. It was earlier on in the year, but the event celebrating the docuseries, and they did a whole thing at the Tampa Theater, and it was awesome. And they put Jason Light with Mike Evans together and talked about drafting Mike Evans, and that was a pretty good pick. So
for sure, that ended up working out.
Yeah.
Let's see if some of these picks work out today in the Bucs' favor. We're going to look at the Bucs offense versus the Panthers defense, and Luke Gedeke, who has played really, really, really good, consistent football since returning from his foot injury. He has been one of those guys that, Jason Light gave him a big contract extension. I think he's earned every penny. I think he's really proven himself. And against Nick Scorton, who is a second-round draft pick from the Panthers, a player that you and I both like coming out of Purdue
Texas
and then
A&M.
Texas A&M. Yeah. And he's an outside linebacker in this defense, the Evero defense. 285 pounds. I mean, he's really like a defensive end. He's kind of built like Cam Jordan from the Saints, except he's younger.
Right.
Well, only has, I think, 2.5 sacks this year, but he was a player that we both liked. The Bucs liked him. They had him in for a top 30 visit, and then I'm going to the Panthers. But I still think Luke Gedeke is going to teach the young rookie some lessons today. I think Scorton is a good player, but I like the veteran savvy of Luke Gedeke in this game.
For sure. I'm a fan of this comment by Gatorbait Matt, who says Luke Gedeke versus the world. And I'm not going to say, I was in love or I had my heart set on Nick Scorton, but I would have had no problem if the Bucs wanted to draft him because I think he brings a lot of great capabilities as an edge rusher. But I've been infatuated with what Luke Gedeke has done this season, even particularly since returning from his foot injury that kept him on injured reserve. I mean, he's quietly putting up one of the best seasons that really anybody could ask for in Buccaneers history. Now, statistically, there's some things you can get from Pro Football Focus, but statistically, it's not going to, pop up on the top page of what Luke Gedeke's doing. But man, I mean, the best thing you could say about an offensive lineman is that you're not thinking about him too much. That's typically a good thing. So shout out to Luke Gedeke for really having a great season.
Yeah. This is kind of like, shooting fish in a barrel here, but Derek Brown versus Dan Feeney. Good luck, Dan. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Brown's having a great season. He is a run stuffer primarily, but he also has found his pass rush game this year. 4 sacks. It leads the Panthers. They have a hard time getting to the quarterback. Only 29 sacks this season, but he's got 4, which leads the team, and it's a career high. And he's stayed healthy this year. Remember, last year he was injured. I want to say like week 1 or week 2, was out for the entire year, kind of wrecked their plan on defense there. But he had a big sack fumble against Matthew Stafford in that win. Dan Feeney is not good. He's a practice squad caliber guard who's filling in for Cody Mauch. And since Derek Brown typically lines up over the right guard, we're going to see a lot of Dan Feeney and Graham Barton today on Derek Brown. I'm not sure if that matters, though. I like Derek Brown in this one, unfortunately.
Our PR roundtable this week was, which Panthers player do the Bucs absolutely need to stop. And I said Derek Brown. There's something about specifically interior defensive linemen that played at Auburn that it's just a problem in the entire NFL, not specifically to the Bucs. But I mean, he could take over this game, no question about it. Making his presence felt in the backfield, stopping Bucky Irving and the run game. And, I have a feeling the Panthers are going to have a QB spy on Baker Mayfield if Baker wants to tuck it and run, because clearly he wants to do that if his first guy isn't open. Yeah. But I also think Derek Brown's going to take up half of the rushing lanes and prevent Baker from rushing as well, which is a big storyline in this matchup. So obviously the easy answer is Derek Brown, but he can make a lot of problems for the Bucs in this game. There's no doubt about it.
For sure. And there's been a couple of instances where I think the Pewter pregame show has kind of told you about a player that maybe you didn't know about on the other team. I think it was David Sills last week, right? We were talking about David Sills, how he's going to have a big game. And he did, like, I think 80 yards, that big 21-yard catch on 4th and 14. Well, if you're like, who the hell is Christian Roseboom? Well, he's a 5th-year starting linebacker out of South Dakota State. And he leads the Panthers with 97 tackles. Now, there are other more notable linebacker, Trevin Wallace. He is out for this game. He's injured.
Yeah.
The Bucs liked him coming out of Kentucky a couple years ago. But Christian Roseboom is the guy that has been making the tackles. 97 tackles. He's got a sack. He's got a handful of tackles for loss, 5 to be exact. He's got a pass breakup. He's got a forced fumble. He's not a world beater, but kind of like Nathan Landman, was a couple of weeks ago for the Rams. He's just been a good free agent fit there. Not the best guy. I think Landman's better, but he's a bit of a problem. Now, if you're Bucky Irving, you have one job: make him miss. You get to the second level, make Christian Roseboom miss, so you're not tackle number 98 or number 99 or tackle 100 on the day. And Bucky Irving made a lot of Panthers players miss. The last time he was in Carolina, he got NFC Offensive Player of the Week honors, 152 yards on the ground, man.
No doubt about it. I mean, that was a huge game for Bucky Irving. But, looking at Bucky since he returned after the bye, I think his best game was the first game that he came back from. And I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I don't know. The vibe seems a little off with Bucky Irving and his overall helpfulness in the running game. Now he could easily, rip off 115 yards in this game and everything's back to normal for Bucky Irving, but I'm going to go with a push in this matchup just because it feels like we're not entirely back on track with Bucky just yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have this year's Bucky Irving is not the same as a running back, right? As a running back. Now, as a receiver, he's got 3 receiving touchdowns this year. He's had a better year catching the ball and producing there than he has. So I'm going to say a push just because, I'm not loving what Bucky's done on the ground, but overall, including the pass, it's been okay. Mike Evans versus J.C. Horn. This is good on good, as they would say in the announcer's booth. This is the best wide receiver on the Buccaneers versus the best cornerback that the Panthers have. J.C. Horn having a really good year, 5 interceptions on the season. And Mike Evans had a really good return to action, 6 catches, 132 yards.
Oh, yeah.
and an epic meltdown after the game. Didn't find the end zone, but I got a funny feeling he's going to find the end zone today, Matt. He does well against the Panthers, even in Carolina. But at the same time, because Baker Mayfield has not been as accurate this year as he was
On
last
point,
year, I'm
yeah.
going to say this is a push.
No, that's very fair. Like, I have a ton of respect for J.C. Horn and what he's done in his entire career, and obviously he's showing out this season as well. Not to give too much away, but I do have a Pewter parlay on Pewter Picks and Props, and one leg of it is a Mike Evans touchdown. Because if the Bucs get to the goal line,
Yeah,
you can pretty much guarantee there's going to be at least one throw to Mike, typically a fade to Mike, in the corner of the end zone. So essentially, you're just betting on, does Mike Evans make the catch on that fade pass? And, on Thursday against the Falcons, I think we had Mike Evans against AJ Terrell, and I was like, I don't know. Mike hasn't played in 7 weeks or however long it was. And then he went out and, every single penalty was on AJ Terrell for holding, whatever the case may be. And Mike had an incredible game. So there's no doubt about it. Mike is back. He can produce at a high level. So it's a great matchup. Ton of respect for J.C. Horn, but I'm going to go with Mike just based on what he did last week. And now a little extra time to rest up and be good to go for this game.
That seems fair. Chris Godwin Jr. in the slot versus nickel cornerback Chow Smith-Wade. We liked Chow Smith-Wade at the Senior Bowl last year, and he's produced pretty well for the Panthers. He's a solid guy, but we saw Chris Godwin get that octopus last week, and I feel pretty good about the arrows pointing up for Chris Godwin. We've kind of seen some explosive plays from him. We've seen him produce now in the red zone after dropping that touchdown against the Cardinals. It wasn't fatal, but he gets the touchdown and the 2-point conversion, crazy 2-point conversion catch too. So I feel like Chris Godwin is back, and I had my doubts about whether he was going to get back to that explosiveness. I thought maybe, he shows a little signs of life this year, and then maybe after resting all off season, he kind of comes back, but he's kind of showing it right now. Yeah. I like Chris Godwin in this game for whatever reason. I know Mike's going to get his targets, and I think McMillan's going to produce, and I think Emeka's going to produce. But I think Chris Godwin can win this matchup and win it regularly.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. And I don't want Bucs fans to get fooled because while Chris Godwin Jr. is back, it may not always show up on the box score and the stats and everything like that.
Right.
And I think Thursday's game is a good example as well, where he didn't have a ton of receptions and a ton of receiving yards, but he had a touchdown and had an octopus. And I think that's important to point out. With this wide receiver group that's fully healthy now for the second game in a row, someone's going to be the main character and the lead person, and odds are it's typically Mike Evans. But that doesn't mean that everyone else is just not going to be a factor at all. It may be only 3 catches, but I can almost guarantee
they might be impactful.
2 of those catches are going to be for a first down or a touchdown or whatever the case may be. So, yes, as you said, impactful catches. I think that was the case for Jalen McMillan and last game, and certainly it was for Chris Godwin Jr. So it's going to be super important to the offense and what they want to do. It just may not be 6 catches, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well said, man. I think you're spot on. One last thing about the offense, and I think you're going to co-sign in this, Matt, is I just hope that regardless of what happens next year in terms of the coaching staff, whether Josh Grizzard is the offensive coordinator or, if this team has a regime change and he's swept away, I just hope for Josh Grizzard's sake and for the sake of this offense that over these next 3 games, we see this offense at full strength. I want to see what Josh Grizzard can do, starting with last week against the Falcons with 28 points, put up 4 weeks of just, hey, outside of not having Cody Mauch and Ben Bredesen, this is what I can do as a play caller. This is what this offense can be. This is how many points we can score over a month. I would just love that for Josh Grizzard and this Buccaneer team to see what could have been and what is, and maybe what will be in 2026. Just come on, football gods. Bless this offense with some health. Just keep this unit healthy just for a month, just so we can truly evaluate for week to week to week to week what this offense can do with this guy calling the plays.
I do agree. I mean, it'll be crazy to think if Baker Mayfield finally has an offensive coordinator for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
And we don't want to talk about the offseason just yet because there's still a lot to play for with the Bucs. But yeah, I mean, continuity has been so important for Baker and his career. And yeah, let's see now that everyone's healthy or as healthy as can be. Let's see if Baker can string together and put together, the best 3 games maybe of his career, because they certainly are going to need it if they want to be division champions once again.
Speaking of continuity, there's a couple of things I can tell you about walk-ons. Number one, there's not a bad seat in the house. They have so many TVs with all the games on. There's not a bad seat in the house. Number two, the food is always consistent and consistently great. So you're not going to have a bad meal at walk-ons. The drinks are fantastic. The food is fantastic. They also have 3 Tampa Bay area locations. One's probably near you if you live in the Tampa Bay area. Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, and Lakeland. If you can't make it to walk-ons, let's say you want to have a watch party today, that's fine. Order walk-ons by going onto catering.walkons.com or their app and order your food right now before the game starts. Then go by and pick it up, and all of a sudden, all you have to do is sit there and watch the game. And, of course, Peter Game Day with Matt Matera and Daniel Morales. But just watch the game, and then you can eat the walk-ons food without having to do any work. And if you go to walk-ons right now, make sure you get a gift card. Give the gift of game day. And if you act now, for a limited time, you can buy $50 worth of walk-ons gift cards and receive a $10 gift card free. Food, fun, football at walk-ons. And Matt, before we get to the defense,
love walk-ons, love watching all the sports there. I still remember when the Bucs had a bye. I was like, you know what? All I want to do is just watch every single college football game.
And that's where you
What I did is I went over to walk-ons and watched every single college football game and had an absolute blast. So shout out to our friends over at walk-ons.
For sure. And shout out to Matt Matera and Daniel Morales coming up at 1 o'clock for Pewter Game Day. Watch the game on your TV, but then also have on a screen, a tablet, a laptop, your phone, whatever, Pewter Game Day, and dial up the volume for sure, as Matt Matera is in the locker room and at One Buccaneer Place every day. And he has the insights and analysis you're going to want to hear. And Daniel Morales also with the call. And listen, nobody does a better job with the reaction to the action than Matty Diamonds. Then I return with Matt at around 4:30 today, right after Baker Mayfield has his press conference with Todd Bowles. Matt and I will be back to talk Bucs at Panthers post-game podcast right here on Pewter Report TV. Also, our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, and you can watch us on X and Facebook at Pewter Report. So a lot of great post-game commentary coming up from yours truly and Matt, and hopefully the Buccaneers prove us wrong and get a win today. That would make everybody happier. And let's talk about, what might make you happy is if this defense shows up today in Carolina. Benjamin Morrison versus Ted McMillan. We've already kind of talked about this matchup. I like Ted McMillan just because he's played more. I'm hopeful that Benjamin Morrison can be up to the task today. It won't just be all Ted McMillan and Benjamin Morrison. We'll see some Jamel Dean out there as well against Ted. But I like McMillan. He's a stud wide receiver. Dave Canales got this pick right in the first round.
Yeah, Mike Evans, carbon copy. Todd Bowles said that as well this week. A really good player, and it's not even a knock on Benjamin Morrison. I'm quite intrigued by BMO and what he can do in this game. But yeah, Ted McMillan has been quiet the last 2 weeks, and that honestly concerns me a lot more because I think Carolina is going to make it a precedent to get him involved.
Yeah. Jacob Parrish, the nickel corner versus Jalen Coker, who lines up mostly in the slot, bigger slot receiver, 6'3" receiver. So probably, gives you a size advantage over the smaller Parrish, but Parrish is a dog. So if you're like, well, who's Jalen Coker? All right, well, here's some names I'm going to throw out at you.
Yep.
Kyle Williams, Terrell Shavers, Devon Vele, and David Sills. These were the nobody receivers that got touchdowns and big plays against the Buccaneers and this Todd Bowles defense. So if you don't know who Jalen Coker is, he's their slot receiver. He plays in the 3 wide receiver sets with Xavier Legette, who's on the outside, and McMillan, who's typically in the outside. Coker a modest 22 catches for 284 yards and 2 touchdowns. But don't be surprised if he goes off today. He's kind of caught some more passes lately from Bryce Young, and he's just like that next guy, like Shavers was, and Williams and Sills, and so I'm going to go with a push here. I like Jacob Parrish, but I like the younger. Or I shouldn't say younger, the earlier version of Jacob when he was kind of hot. Now he's kind of not. But
correct.
So I'm still going to give a little bit of faith and confidence to my K-State Wildcat here. I'm going to go with the push, Matt.
I think you hit it on the head with the unknown players being the ones that screw over the Bucs the
that
most.
Was my point. That was my round table this week.
Yeah.
Who do the Bucs have to stop? The guy that you don't know about that's going to screw this team.
The guy that doesn't do anything for 10 weeks, but all of a sudden shows up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's a great point because you have to account for every single person. I had no idea who the hell Shavers was for the Bills when he scored that touchdown. But, it still counts as 6 points, and I think they got the extra point, so it still counts as 7 points as well. And I still go back to what Rondé Barber said on Monday's show, where, who should play outside corner? And he said, well, if it was 2 months ago, the answer is Jacob Parrish. And Parrish hasn't been the same guy as of late, but still very important to this team. And I love his bulldog, pit bull type of mentality. So I will go with a push, but I'm certainly not down on Jacob Parrish.
Yep. The Bucs inside linebackers versus the Panthers running back. So they're playing today. They're not technically in the injured report, but Levante David's knee is not feeling right. And Servacio Dennis's hip isn't feeling right. They're banged up right now. Panthers running backs, including Chuba Hubbard. I know that Rico Dowdle is the guy that kind of has taken over that spot, even though Chuba Hubbard was the guy that got paid this offseason. It's been Dowdle who should get over 1,000 yards. Not today, folks. He's not rushing for 1,000 yards today, but he's going to be eclipsing 1,000 yards because he's just under that right now. I mean, gosh, if he ran for 1,000 yards, he'd have quite the season today. That would mean Todd Bowles is fired.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look at the rushing yards, he's got 978 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. Chuba Hubbard has really been a good 1-2 punch. His average is down. It's under 4, but he's got 462 yards on the ground and only 1 touchdown. So it's been Rico Dowdle kind of taking over there. But if the Panthers are going to win the day today, if they're going to win the game, they're going to need over 100 yards on the ground. And I feel like that is doable against this Buccaneer defense. They used to be good against the run, but not anymore. So I'm going to go with the Panthers running backs today.
It just kind of makes me sad talking about the Bucs inside linebackers. And it makes me sad thinking about that. Levante David's probably going to retire, and probably rightfully so, with, not the lack of effort, but just not the performance this year. And I hope when we look back on Levante's last season, if this is his last season, we think about the interception he had against Seattle and not all the missed tackles and all that stuff.
Yeah. Tyke Smith versus Tommy Tremble, the Panthers tight end. Tommy Tremble's had a couple touchdowns against the Buccaneers. He had one as a rookie in that 21-3 upset of the Tom Brady Buccaneers when PJ Walker and the Panthers beat the Buccaneers in Carolina back in 2022, 21-3. It was a huge upset. And he's had a touchdown in Tampa. So for whatever reason, Tommy Tremble's just one of those players that, like Kirk Cousins, destroyed the Bucs defense. Tyke Smith, though, gave up a touchdown to Trey McBride a couple of weeks ago, but he also had an interception in the end zone against the Patriots. I like the return of Tyke Smith in this one. I'm not saying Tommy Tremble's not going to catch a touchdown, but if it happens, it's not going to be on Tyke. But I like the return of Tyke Smith. He's a dog, and more.
So do I, for sure. I mean, he's been one of the most important players to Tampa Bay's defense this season. So for all the negative stuff we've said about the Bucs defense, it's a lot better when Tyke Smith is playing. So that's a huge, huge boost and upgrade for this group. I'm excited to see Tyke Smith playing once again.
Yep. And last but not least, the Bucs pass rush versus the Panthers offensive line. Now, we're not doing individual matchups here. It's collectively. That includes Vita Vea. That's good. It includes Jason Pierre-Paul. That's great. Maybe Yaya Diaby gets a sack today. I don't know. But what I do know is the Panthers offensive line is not great. They do give up a pretty fair amount of sacks. Bryce Young this year has been sacked a lot. 23 times. Better than it was his rookie season when he was sacked 62 times. But Bryce Young will also scramble into some sacks. And when you look at the Panthers offensive line, it's a little banged up right now. It'd be interesting to see if their left tackle ends up playing today. If he's on the injury report, that's Ikem Ekwonu. If he doesn't play that significant, Tyler Moton's a little banged up. They've already had one of their starting offensive linemen, Robert Hunt, go on injured reserve at guard. So this is an opportunity today for the Bucs pass rush to, I don't know, maybe show up. That'll be good, right? Matt, I'm going to go with the Bucs pass rush today because of Jason Pierre-Paul. I don't feel good about it. I'm a little ashamed to say that, but I'm going to go with the Bucs pass rush today over the Panthers offensive line.
What I was going to say is Bucs pass rush without JPP. I'm taking the Panthers O-line, but JPP with the Bucs pass rush, then I'll take Tampa Bay. I'm just so excited to watch JPP. I'm not going to lie. He's one of my favorite interviews to have. Like he's so out there, and I mean that in a positive way. He's exactly what Tampa Bay needs. Now you wish it was JPP of 5 seasons ago, maybe even 10 seasons ago. But I checked Hard Rock before, and I'm disappointed about 2 things. One, there's not a prop bet for Vita Vea to score a touchdown, and that's a little nod and a wink to everybody. And maybe because this news only came out yesterday, but there's not a prop yet for JPP to record a sack. But if that becomes available before 1:00 p.m., your boy is going to be is going to sprinkle a little cash on it.
Yep, exactly. Dave Canales, he has yet to beat Todd Bowles. Is today going to be that day? God, I hope not, but I don't feel good about it. We shall see. 2 games versus the Panthers, folks, coming down the pipe. One today, one in Week 18. We'll see if that Week 18 game is even meaningful to the Buccaneers. Hopefully it will be. But one last comment here. I'm down with JPP from Bud Cannabis.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Love it. We love everybody for tuning in to today's show. Remember that in just a few hours, I love 1:00 football. I'm not going to lie. I like to go to bed early. I'm an old man these days. But more importantly, let's just get to football as soon as we can. 1:00, that's when Pewter Game Day kicks off here on Pewter Report TV. Make sure you watch Matt Matera and Daniel Morales for that. And then, of course, Bucs at Panthers postgame podcast around 4:30-ish, 4:40 maybe, right here on Pewter Report TV. Make sure you check that out. And we are over 22,000 subscribers, thanks to you.
That's right.
We're on to Tyke Smith now and 23,000. So let's get there as soon as possible. Actually, we're over 23,100 already. So you guys are really
already. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, already.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing when you get over the threshold, but then to see like 100 people already subscribe is super awesome as well. So can't thank each and every one of you enough for all of your support of our YouTube channel and Pewter Report. It's amazing to see how great everybody is. So if you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well on this video, whether it's a score prediction or what you think might happen in the game. We love reading those comments. And if you're predicting a Bucs win, hopefully you're right. But we also understand the reality of what Tampa Bay has done in recent weeks. So that's going to do for us on this morning's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Pregame Show. Peace out.